Hey all, great to see you. Today, I'll take you through this absolutely beautiful drum Tama's made and show you some different tunings so you can get an idea of what you can do with it. I'll start with some basic information about it while you listen to it in action, and then we'll go through some stuff. If you've seen any of my videos before, you'll know I absolutely loved my 1976 Ludwig Acrolite 14x5. An absolutely iconic snare drum and of course, an aluminium shell. In my opinion, aluminium shells have this beautiful ring that sounds different from other metal drums. It's what people talk about when they say a pre-EQ'd sound. Aluminium itself is going to be a bit more dead and thuddy than other metal drums too, and that's where this particular drum is quite interesting. Because it's such a thin shell at only 1.2 millimeters compared with the Acrolite at 1.6, the drum is going to activate faster, which means the tone, or the resonance of the drum, will be more pronounced. So, what Tama have done here, which is really quite clever, is compensated for the fact that it's a bit of a dead sounding metal by thinning out the shell, meaning it will activate quickly and you'll get more resonance of that particular aluminium tone that I just love. So for me, this shell is absolutely exactly what I was looking for. With all drums, I always think going for more resonance is good when purchasing, because with products like moon gels, big fat snare drums, snare weight, etc., there's an abundance of muffling options available to dial it in. You can't, on the other hand, ever add more resonance. Again, something Tama just always gets right. So, let's get started with the sound, and then there's some other cool features of this drum that I'll show you after, so stay tuned for that. Finally, when I watch these review and comparison videos, I always want to hear how the ghost notes sound in a mid-tempo groove context, and hardly anyone ever provides that. So, I'll make sure to do that for you here. The heads for the intro were the stock heads that came with the drum. Evans coated G1 on top and a snare side 300 on the bottom. I then realized that even though I've only had the G1 for a couple of weeks, I've pretty much worn it out. So it wouldn't be a fair test to do this with that head. I changed the top to a fresh ambassador coated for the comparison video, and the comparison section will also be with the stock snare wires. Then, when I dialed in my sound, which I'll show you at the end of the comparison, I changed the Rezo head to an ambassador hazy snare side and added in my pure sound Super 30 snare wires. Both bottom heads are the exact same thickness, so it'll be an interesting comparison with the two brands, and you'll get to hear how snare wires affect the drum too. At the end of the video, I'll do an end-to-end comparison. Comment what tuning you like best. Now for some super cool features of this drum. I don't know about you, but whenever I change my heads, I spin the hoop when I put the hoop on the floor so that the lugs don't come out, and yet I still always drop or lose one. The lugs on this drum are made in a way where they don't actually come off the drum, so that problem never happens, alongside making head changes far quicker and easier. It's wicked and I love it. There's also a cutout in the hoop for the snare wires to sit in, so you don't have to fit your wires through a hole in the hoop, which is a nice feature, alongside the sound benefits. Additionally, to add just mental levels of attention to detail here, the butt plate is actually detachable, so you can keep snares exactly dialed into how you like them and got them nailed before when changing a head. So, when you put a new head on, just reattach the butt plate and the snares will be in exactly the same position as they were prior. Wizardry. Tama is just always thinking about how they can make the experience better for drummers, and it's this type of thing that just makes life so much easier. The strainer is interesting as well. It's what's called a linear drive strainer, and essentially it's far smoother than any other strainer I've ever used. Basically, it doesn't go on and off like other strainers. You know when you put the snares on and you can hear the snares hitting the bottom of the head and locking in? Well, with this, they kind of attach to the head gradually, so you don't hear that random hit of the snares being engaged. I was playing with my old band recently, and this was a lovely feature to have. It's kind of like when a guitarist turns on his pedals at the wrong time in a track, and it's like you hear this tractor engine suddenly thud and start. With this, there's none of that issue. It's just smooth as butter, and you can engage them just before you come in a track, and no one will ever know. Contributing to this is the snare tension adjuster. Always, I get my snare dialed in exactly as I want it, and then when I come to do a session or film a lesson or something, afterwards I'm always like, damn, my snare wire's loosened, and it doesn't sound how I wanted it to. I've had this drum for a good few weeks now, and I can tell you now the snare wires have not loosened a millimeter. This is just the type of thing that made me gravitate towards Tama, because in my opinion, they're just leading the industry in terms of innovation. Their Star hardware, the bass drum pedals, the Star floor tom legs, the lock system on the toms, and even their marketing, it's all just absolutely genius, and in my opinion, it's the kind of modernism that made me want to be a part of what they're doing. Combine that with the fact that the price of these drums is just unbelievable. I got a deal on mine and purchased it for £390. Staggering to get this level of a pro-line snare drum made in Japan for that price. If I wanted to buy a new Ludwig snare, I'd be looking at £1,000 easily. I'll show you the end-to-end comparison now, but let me know your thoughts and what tuning you like best. That'll wrap up today's video. Did you dig my sound, or was one of the other tunings to your preference? Let me know, and as always, see you in the practice room.